probably the single most underrated self-improvement tool that exists. There is mountains of scientific research that has shown how powerful meditation is, yet very few people do it because we misunderstand it. And I would go so far as to say that in many ways, meditation saved my life. It completely changed the course of my life. And the purpose of this video is to help you learn about what meditation really does and how it works and why it's so powerful, so that instead of being one of millions of people that knows hypothetically, well, yeah, meditation sounds cool, but you don't actually do it, right? Oh, I've read this study that it's good for you, but you don't do it. It's not a daily practice for you. And it's something that has completely changed my life. And to understand how that is, we have to go back to when I was 18. My father died suddenly, and for several months I had no idea how he died, right? We hadn't gotten the results yet of the autopsy. And as far as we were concerned, as far as I was concerned, he died of a heart attack or a stroke or just a sudden, mysterious death. And that planted the seed of a thought in my mind that if my father, the person who I'm closest to in the world, because he raised me more so than my mother did, if he can die suddenly, out of nowhere, before he accomplished much of what he wanted to accomplish in life. He wanted to be a teacher. He hadn't done that yet. He had his ambitions, his vision for his life had not been realized yet. If that could happen to him, that could happen to me. The same could happen to me. And so these thought patterns started to just go through my mind more and more, that I might die suddenly. And then one day that manifested in a panic attack. I felt like I was having a heart attack, and I looked up my symptoms and I was dizzy. I felt like I was about to pass out. I felt like I was about to die. If you haven't had a panic attack, that's what it feels like. It feels like you're underwater, your head's underwater, and you're actually actively being held underwater, right? Someone's putting their hand on you and preventing you from getting out of the water. That's what a panic attack feels like. And I've broken my leg. I would say a panic attack is more painful, right? More uncomfortable than even breaking my leg was. Like, that's how intense it is. Probably the most intense experience you can have, other than actually dying, in terms of emotional intensity. And so after that first panic attack, they diagnosed me with panic disorder. I saw a psychiatrist who said I would never get better. I would always struggle with anxiety. And so I started reading books about anxiety. I started trying medications that largely didn't help, at least for me. And I was desperate to find some way to stop having these panic attacks. And it wasn't just that I had panic attacks. I was constantly on the verge of a panic attack. And this was for over 2 years, where I barely experienced any pleasure, any comfort. I was constantly on edge, constantly feeling like I was about to die. That was my level of consciousness, if you will. That was my experience of life. It was constant discomfort, and stress would be putting it lightly. It was like living in a nightmare, honestly, for a couple of years. That's what it felt like. It felt like having a nightmare, but my life was the nightmare. It was not good, because that's how close I was to my father, and that sudden death, I didn't know how to process it, and it turned into this condition, panic disorder and anxiety, and hypochondria. So the one thing that finally started to help was meditation. And it took a while for me to even try meditation. It took a while for me to get the benefits of meditation. It's not a sudden thing. It's not like you meditate once and you feel better. Meditation is just like working out. You work out once and you actually feel worse. You actually feel uncomfortable while you're doing it. Meditation is the same thing, but for your mind. It makes you stronger in the long term, but it hurts in the short term to reach that point. And that's something that is hard to grasp about meditation. It's hard to really understand that until you've experienced it. So the first times I did meditation, it was awful because my mind, I'm trying to focus on my breath. I was doing mindfulness meditation. I'm trying to focus on my breath, but all I can do is think, What if my breathing feels kind of weird? What if I'm about to have a heart attack? What if I have lung cancer? What if, like, that's how my mind worked. That's how bad it was. And at first, it was extremely difficult for me to meditate. But I made a point to read books about it. I saw that there was so much scientific research showing, including not just like psychology studies, but actual neuroscience studies showing that it increases the gray matter in your brain. Meditation reduces things like cortisol. It reduces activity in the areas of brain associated with stress and increases the areas of the brain, the activity in the areas of the brain associated with positive things like creativity and comfort and stuff like that, willpower. I saw so much scientific research that I really bought into it and tried it. And so I read books about meditation. I used an app called Calm. There's another app called Headspace. I recommend both of these as being very helpful. But I didn't just try to wing it on my own. I actually did guided meditations. And at first, it was super uncomfortable. My life was just constant anxiety, and meditation did not instantly solve it. It made it worse in the short term, right? It was like putting it all in my face. Like, normally I would avoid my anxious thoughts with TV, with video games, World of Warcraft. I would try to avoid them. But while meditating, I had to just be with them. And in the short term, it made them louder, made them more intense. But meditation teaches you to create distance, to create space between your thoughts. So like maybe I'm having a heart attack, or feeling just, if you're stressed, thinking about the thing, oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, how am I going to pay my bills? Whatever negative thoughts going through your head, when you meditate, when you practice meditation, you get space and you realize it's just a thought. You realize that it's not objective reality. And many of our thoughts that feel like they're 100% true are not true at all. They're completely fictitious. But our thought happens, then our emotions follow. So I don't have enough money, stress follows. Oh, I might be having a heart attack, then anxiety follows. Your heart starts actually pumping faster, and then you're like, oh, maybe I really am having a heart attack. And it gets worse and worse and worse, right? It's this cycle that builds on itself. And so what meditation does is it allows you, through training, through practicing, to break those cycles, to become aware, oh, I'm having this feeling that I'm having a heart attack, but that's just a thought. Why do I think that? It lets you get space and analyze your own thoughts. It's, I believe, called metacognition. So it develops your ability to analyze your own thoughts and be separate from them instead of being entangled with them. That's one of the psychology terms, is entanglement, cognitive entanglement, I believe. And that's what normally happens. So meditation increasingly develops this ability in you to separate your thoughts to see them as just thoughts, right? To see them as not being objective reality. And over time, if you have stress, if you have anxiety, if you have whatever, all these thoughts, you realize they're just thoughts. Normally, they feel real. When you're having an anxiety attack, it literally feels like you're dying. It really, really does. And it's hard to imagine if you haven't had an anxiety attack, but that is genuinely what it feels like. You have all these intense 10 out of 10 symptoms. But when you're able to take space and say, maybe this is anxiety, then that ramping up can't happen. It's unable to happen. So meditation not only, it solved that problem. It allowed me to treat my own anxiety and drastically reduce it. And it's still helping things like stress, anxiety, all those kinds of problems in my life. It's still progressively helping. But then it also gives you presence. It gives you the ability to be in the moment. And the thing with life that modern society is completely fucked up is modern society is designed to make us avoid the present moment, to always be escaping it. So whenever you're walking around the city, we have to be stimulated in some way. We have to be away from ourselves, right? We can't just listen to the sounds. We can't just see the sights. We can't just be here in the moment. That's something that's getting increasingly worse. And I don't think it's a coincidence that anxiety and stress levels, the amount of people who have anxiety, is increasing drastically every year. What meditation does is it can make, you do this enough, literally like walking to work, walking to my college campus back in the day. When I felt present, it would actually be almost a spiritual experience. I would be feeling a 10 out of 10 in terms of happiness, bliss, whatever you want to call it, just walking. I would hear the birds chirping and I'd be like, oh my God, that is badass. It's just birds chirping. Normally you're like, I don't give a fuck. You don't even notice it. But when you are present, these benign, normal things become beautiful. You're able to appreciate them and experience them in a much more full way. Eating food becomes more enjoyable. Sex becomes far more pleasurable, and you also get better at it because you're able to you get out of your head. So you're able to make the experience better for the other person too. Everything becomes more enjoyable, and you get less of a desire to need to escape to TV, to Netflix, to whatever, to constantly deal with your stress in some way, to like look at the phone every 30 seconds, because you're able to just feel at ease with your own thoughts, with your own experience, and not need to escape. So that's the second thing meditation does. It actually can give you a type of happiness that you probably, like modern people, rarely experience. Very few people do. And the more you meditate, the more you're going to get this experience over time. The third thing, meditation made me smarter. It made me not stupid. Basically, when you practice meditation, because it allows you to get space with your own thoughts, you're able to question everything. You're able to question your beliefs. When you read an article that says X person is PewDiePie a Nazi? Normally, what we do is we read it and we like, oh, that's probably true, and it just kind of downloads, right? We don't question it. But meditation creates this filter with anything that you take in. And you're able to question it and think, is that true? Is that not true? And become more skeptical, funny enough, to become more skeptical in a way that allows you to become better at questioning what's true and what's not, questioning your own beliefs, questioning like your own thought patterns, like whatever it, like it could be things that you've deeply held for your entire life, your political beliefs, etc. You become less enmeshed in them. I said that weirdly, but less enmeshed in those beliefs. They become less sticky, right? You're able to question everything. And that means, for me, that meant I was able to question, like, could I make my own business? Could I be able to attract women, even though I have such extreme social anxiety and I've never had, like when I was 19, I've never had any success with women in my life. Maybe I could actually change. And it gives you a flexibility to be able to change because you question your own limiting beliefs. You start to realize that your beliefs are just beliefs, your thoughts are just thoughts, and more than half of them, many of them are bullshit. You start to realize your own thoughts are bullshit. You stop assuming that you understand the truth. You stop assuming that you really understand reality, and you're able to question your own grasp of reality, which at first can be kind of make you feel unbalanced. But that gives you the flexibility to change. That gives you the flexibility to experiment with different things. And so meditation did that for me, which allowed me to create my own career path. It allowed me to accomplish goals that I would have thought were impossible for me because I didn't have a sense of self-efficacy, meaning the belief that I can achieve what I want to achieve. I didn't have that before. So meditation has completely changed my life in every way. It's reduced my anxiety. It's increased my ability to achieve my goals and to let go of limiting beliefs, to stop being so as irrational as I naturally would be. Or even better way to put it would be to become aware of my own irrationality, to realize how irrational I am, and to be able to question those thoughts. And it has also, what was the second one? It has also allowed me to enjoy life, to enjoy just the present moment, just enjoy being outdoors and just seeing, like, listening to the birds chirping and enjoy that. Or enjoy just like being in bed, on a date and just like experience it, right? Take it all in. And that's something that the modern world fights, right? Fights against. The modern world is designed for us not to experience reality and to constantly be lost in some sort of distraction. And meditation teaches you to not need that, to not even desire that more and more over time, because you realize that just experiencing reality can be far more enjoyable, more entertaining, more fulfilling than those things. So that's what I've gotten out of meditation. I highly encourage anyone who watches this to give it a shot, to try practicing it. It's something that you can look up, scientific benefits of mindfulness meditation. You will see hundreds, thousands of studies showing all the benefits, showing how useful meditation is. So I highly recommend looking into that. If you're skeptical, look into it. It's not a spiritual thing. It can be. It really doesn't have to be. It's a practice that is the equivalent of working out, but for your mind, right? It's a workout program for your mind that teaches you to get control of your mind, just like working out teaches you to get control of your body. And it actually be able to let go, funny enough, to be able to let go and just accept things as they are. So it's both. But with all that said, if you're looking for a place to start, I think the two apps that I found the most useful have been Calm and Headspace. But you look up mindfulness, look up meditation on any app store, and you'll find tons of apps. I highly encourage you to start with guided meditations until basically they've shown you the ropes and you understand the basics, because most people who learn meditation quit right away because there's so many misnomers we have about it. We feel like we're supposed to be aware of all of our thoughts. We're supposed to be able to fully focus on our breath. And then when we don't, when we have a thought, we feel like we're failing. We're not meditating right. But that's not true. It's actually, that's the process. You're supposed to get lost in thoughts. And meditation, when you're making progress, is basically every time you realize that you got lost in thought. You become aware of that and you go back to your breath or to sound or whatever you're focusing on. So meditation is something that it's easy to quit right away because you get frustrated, but if you stick through and follow a program, finish the 30-day introductory program or whatever it is, then you will start to get benefits from it, and then you'll start to understand how it really works as opposed to all these misunderstandings that are very easy to get caught up in. So really quick, before I wrap up, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell button. If there's anything you want me to talk about specifically, let me know. And I'll read the comments really quickly before I wrap up. And if anyone has any questions about meditation specifically, now would be the time to write them. Good to question your own limiting beliefs. Yes, I think that's the most important skill you can have, is the ability to question your own beliefs, your own thoughts, and to realize that just because you think something, no matter how, especially if you're emotionally attached to it, the more emotional it is for you, the more resistance you have, the more likely it is that it's emotional rather than logical. And just accepting that we're not logical beings. We're far more emotional than logical. The logical part of our brain is basically like the tip of an iceberg, and most of our mind is emotional. And oftentimes what we think is logic is actually rationalizations of our emotions. Did you try psychedelics? I have not, but I do intend to try shrooms at some point, at least, if not ayahuasca. It's something for me. So I actually had the worst panic attack I ever had was, I smoked weed, but I had a job interview and I needed to stop. And then my friends told me, have you ever tried Spice? It's a legal version of weed. It's synthetic and it won't come up in a drug test. So I try it. And I did hits off a gravity bong, like 5 hits or something. And Spice, if you don't know, also known as K2, it became banned very quickly, and it like very questionable in terms of how unhealthy it was. It gave me the worst panic attack / bad trip I've ever had in my life. It was basically hallucinating. My sense of space was messed up. Meditation is a state of mind. Yeah, well, you can be practicing mindfulness at any point throughout the day, right? Even right now, I can be practicing mindfulness while doing this. But the way you make it a practice, or to make that a habit, is to do a specific practice. Otherwise, it's very easy to forget. So I did Spice, and like I was in a van, and I like when it turned, I felt like we were turning like upside down. It's like my sense of balance was gone. I couldn't swallow the food. I ate like a candy bar or something. I couldn't swallow it. It got felt like it was stuck in my throat. I don't know if it actually was or not. But I had all these extremely intense symptoms of anxiety and feeling like I was dying. My friends were genuinely concerned and considering taking me to the ER. That's how bad it was. And I called my mom. I told her my last words, that I don't blame her, that I love her, all those kinds of things. And after that, then drugs, any kind of drug, mostly weed is the one I would try, but would give me really bad anxiety, because that was, a extreme panic attack. And it may have been, physical as well, but I had an extreme panic attack, and then I had an aversion to drugs after that. So I've tried, but even weed still gives me some anxiety. It's something I'm like easing into over time. So to one day try shrooms, to one day try ayahuasca, but I haven't done it yet. So it's something I plan on trying, but I'm not sure if I'm ready or not. I think the benefits, there's plenty of evidence to the benefits, especially of shrooms, especially if you have a guide, a trained guide to help you go through the process. But it's also something that it's probably like, in a way, it's my greatest fear or anxiety, is because that's the most intense experience I've ever had in my life. And so any drug now, like, brings that up, right? So I do intend to do psychedelics at some point. My grandfather was an avid psychedelic user, loves them. But I'm not sure when that's going to be, if that's going to be soon or if that's going to be a while. All right, so let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about psychology, philosophy, self-development. Let me know in the comments section. And I really, really encourage you to try meditation. If you've tried it before and weren't able to stick with it, try it again. Don't expect the benefits to be immediate. Just like if you go to the gym, you're not going to expect to be shredded in a week. And if you do expect to have noticeable benefits in a week, you're gonna be pissed off and frustrated and likely give up. But if you're patient with it, I promise you, all the scientific research, all the evidence, my own experience, many other people's experience with meditation is very real. The benefits are very powerful. They take a while to catch up with you, but when you start experiencing them, you're like, holy shit, this has changed my life. You have an experience where you're just walking home or driving, and you're like in a Zen state, right? A completely present state, and you're just feeling amazing, feeling better than you've ever felt, in your life, just because you've been practicing meditation. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video.